Your host, Wyatt Schott. We're high atop a chilly morning here in Denton, Texas. I'm joined by a panel of analysts of Josh Ortega, Houston Hall, Matthew McDowell. Fellas, UNT, we haven't got to talk about them for a little while now, so we got 3 games that we got to cover. We got to talk about the UTSA win, we got to talk about the Charlotte win, we got to talk about the Navy win. So we're going to go right down the line. I want to talk about Charlotte first, actually. I know the UTSA was before that, but Charlotte was that was a special game. One reason only. Drew Mestemaker breaking the American Conference single game passing record, 608 passing yards. I mean, it doesn't even sound like a real stat. It sounds like I'm just making stuff up. I don't think I've ever passed for 600 yards in like a College Football 26 video game. Unreal numbers from Drew Mestemaker. They get the comeback win against Charlotte. You know, they got down early, then they pulled away big time. Tell me what y'all thought about that game and what you thought about Drew Mestemaker's performance.
Honestly, Drew had a wilt moment. I mean, he took the picture after the game with the 608, and in 50 years, if anybody tries to discredit whatever that was, that performance, we have footage of it. Unlike Wilt, where we had the best game in basketball history and we have no footage of it.
Oh, poor Wilt.
Either way, just a phenomenal game for Drew. You know, you think about that game, it was a shootout. You know, with a Charlotte team that we had no idea kind of going in what they were going to be. We knew they were kind of a dumpster fire heading in, but they looked like a very good passing team, and they had us on the ropes. But Drew has his Mike Tyson moment, comes back and plays a really good game with 608 passing yards. A really nice win for them, and look, I mean, it's got us rolling here on offense.
Yeah.
Well, I know we ended up winning by, 34 or something like that, but while it was happening, it felt like you need every single one of those 608 yards to get that win. I mean, we won by 34, but it was really a pretty close game there until the fourth quarter whenever we got rolling and started to pull away. What I really liked about his performance was the way that he battled adversity, the way, you know, he had the interception and he had the fumble. And you sometimes in a young quarterback like him in the South Florida game, you saw him kind of waver a little bit whenever he had those turnovers, and you could tell it damaged his confidence. But you didn't see that in the Charlotte game. He just kept battling, kept making the right reads and finding wide open receivers. You know, we had 3 guys go over 100 yards receiving. You know, Wyatt Young was 190 receiving yards, which I think was second of all receivers that week. So a really impressive game across the board, and both from a mental and physical standpoint by Drew.
Yeah, Matthew, tell me what you thought about Drew's performance.
I'll keep it quick so we can get to UTSA and some of the other games, but I was working that night. I was working my internship, and I look at my phone on the ESPN app, and I see like UNT's down. I'm like, oh my gosh. 30 minutes later, I check. I'm like, okay, UNT's going good. 30 minutes later, I check my phone. I see 608. I'm like, is that for real? Did someone at ESPN like type in, have like a typo or something, or like what's going on? So I mean, when I was like looking at my phone, I'm like, no way. And then I would go back, watch the highlights. I'm like, oh my gosh, that just happened. Then you get the iconic photo of Mestemaker with the 608. That's pretty sweet. So yeah, I mean, great win. Scary at first, but I mean, 30-some-odd point win, can't be mad at that at all, so very happy.
Another game that was scary at first was the UTSA game. That was a game when we were talking about it, previewing it, coming up to this one. We talked so much about the rushing attack from UTSA and how that could be a problem, especially how South Florida was able to run the ball all over us. Robert Henry Jr. on the first play of the game basically takes it 75 yards for a touchdown, and I started to get a little worried. I was like, man, this could just be same old, same old. Maybe this UNT team isn't as good as we actually think. Turns out, that was the fluke of the night, and UTSA got dominated by UNT defensively the entire game. Speak a little bit about the defensive performance from UNT against UTSA.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things when we look back at it, you know, we talked about it kind of being like a bounce back game. Like that was fresh off the USF loss. Defense that got absolutely manhandled by them at home, and so we had a lot of conversations about just kind of what we were going to see, especially because Robert Henry was, at the time, I think, was he top 4 in rushing? He was around that number, and so just with his impact, kind of what he was going to be, because we know that this run defense has been the Achilles heel of this defense, right? We know it's not going to magically turn into the best run defense in the country, so heading into that game, that was a big concern, I think, for all of us, but look, this defense played well, and we've seen it at times, especially at home, they just kind of turned it up. Right? They play well, they get turnovers as we see there, and that's a big thing for them. Now they're second in the country in turnovers, but I mean, we saw that be a big factor against UTSA, and so overall, it was a very nice defensive performance in that game. Offensively as well, I think it was another very nice performance. This offense was not one-dimensional like we saw the week before, and really nice game for them. So I really enjoyed it back then.
Yeah.
Oh, Wyatt, I kind of agree with what you said. At first, when I saw that breakaway run, I was getting a little nervous. You know, I had a bunch of friends there from out of town to see me, and when that I had been hyping up the team a little bit, and that was the first play. You know, I was getting some sideways glances there for a minute, but the defense definitely found a groove on the next 2 drives. I I thought it was interesting. UTSA's first 3 drives of the game were all 3 plays each. One was 75 yards, and the next 2 actually went for negative yards.
Yeah.
So you saw a real lock-in moment there by the UNT defense, and they got rolling. And other than that 77-yard run for Henry, I mean, it was respectable for the rest of the game, but it was definitely in check compared to that first run. So other than that first play, I was pretty proud of the way the UNT defense played that day. Yeah,
and then Matthew, going into this game, it felt like it was it could have been a derailing point for this UNT football season. They were coming off of the South Florida loss that they lost in ugly fashion on primetime ESPN standalone spot. They had to bounce back against a solid UTSA team that was going to be able to run the football well, and they showed up and they shut it down. Speak to just how big that win was just for program morale and to the trajectory of the football team.
I think it's huge. I mean, right now UNT's sitting at 8-1, but if you lose that game, then you go 5-2. Okay, then you have a game at Charlotte. You should take care of business. But then you go to Navy. You're like, what is the team's confidence level? Are we able to win these big games? Are we able to go against a good opponent and come up clutch? And that's exactly what they did. Prior to that game, I said, UNT plus 14.5 plus 280 value in that hit. Don't bet on these guys. Bet with me. That's how you'll make some money. But I mean, UNT's offense has been so good. I mean, we always talk about it. Everyone's talking about Eric Morris, Drew Messmaker, Caleb Hawkins, Landon Sides, Wyatt Young, Cameron Dorham. They're just raving about the offense. UNT outgained UTSA 584 to 329 that game. And earlier in the week, we were talking about, especially versus the Army game, feels like this UNT defense can only turn over the ball or let the other team score. Recently, they've been getting 3-0s, stuff like that. But if they keep up this momentum and the way that they've been turning the ball over, maybe it's not a terrible thing. I mean, they're getting 3-4 turnovers a game. I mean, Quentin Hammonds went crazy last game versus Navy with the one-handed interception, the one in the back of the end zone. So, I mean, it was really good. The team's looking complete. Skylar Cassidy looked like he's turned this defense around. And, I mean, it was a huge win. And now we're sitting at 8-1 with possibility to go 11-1 and possibility to go dancing in the playoffs, which is crazy to say, but it's a reality. So, yeah,
it is the reality. And I would have never guessed that I would be sitting here talking on game day about UNT having a chance to make the college football playoffs this late into the season. Really, at any point throughout the season, I just didn't think it was going to happen. Last game we got to touch on is the one that just happened last week against Navy, and that was a game that we also were worried about because the rushing attack for Navy, we assumed hey, it's going to be better than Army. We know Navy's better than Army, and Army was able to run the ball on us pretty successfully, so worried about it going into this one. I think this was the best defensive performance of the season from the UNT defense. They allowed some rushing yards like you're going to do, especially whenever teams get so many possessions when you're putting points on the board. It didn't matter, though. Only 17 points for Navy, just a complete shutdown of the run game. Talk about how just impressive this was for the UNT defense and the UNT football team.
I think it was really impressive, also because they lost Shane Witter in this game. They lost him early in this game, and so that's a big part as to kind of what you want to do on defense, playing so well in this defense. And Matthew's boy, Ethan Waslowski, just played a phenomenal game. Trey Fields came back in at Mike, and he was phenomenal as well. And so, look, it was a big reason why that this game kind of went the way it did, but offensively as well. Again, I mean, it was just dominant. Caleb Hawkins, I know we've talked a lot about Drew Messmaker and his, starts of the season. This is the Caleb Hawkins game. I mean, phenomenal from him. Just really made this offense kind of flow well. And you see it in the run game. Drew looks so comfortable handing the football off. It doesn't have to be pass, like, how I play college football 26. Just chucking the ball downfield on 3rd and 15. But either way, phenomenal game for the offense, phenomenal for the defense, stepped up in a big way. Trey Hammonds, obviously, as Matthew mentioned earlier, phenomenal day for him, 2 takeaways. And look, you need to win the big game, you win it, and now you set yourself in a really good position going forward the rest of the way.
I think that it speaks to the team to come off of a game against Charlotte where you throw for 600 yards, and then the next week you have a rusher go for 190 and 4 touchdowns. Houston, speak just about the offensive balance and how hard it is for teams to get ready to defend this UNT offense.
Well, I agree with what you said. I mean, we're coming off 608 and then also looking at the way that Navy plays against the pass, I think they were like 116th, 117th in pass defense. I thought it was going to be another Drew type of game. I mean, he was kind of I don't want to say game manager, but not necessarily the player that was going to win games.
Yeah, they didn't ask him to be a hero.
No. Right, yeah, absolutely not. So I thought, after 608, maybe they are going to ask him to be the hero or whatever. But, like Josh said, this was the Caleb Hawkins game. I mean, he had all 4 of our touchdowns for the 3rd time this season. He's exceeded 200 total yards of offense on his own, carried the ball 33 times. So, I mean, yeah, it's really impressive compared to like last year where it was just kind of a passing offense and running wasn't as good. This year, they're great at both, rushing and passing and multiple rushers that can run the ball as well. I know Caleb Hawkins was the guy against Navy, but against Charlotte, you saw Kiefer Sibley get in there and have a couple nice runs. Same against UTSA. So it is a very balanced offense, obviously.
Yeah, and then Matthew, last thing, just speak about this dominating performance from UNT against Navy, and then the downhill slope from here with UAB, Rice, and Temple to end the season out.
Okay, well, one of the things I think that's led the offense be so good is, coming into the season, we're talking about, UNT's a pass-first offense. They use the pass to set up the run. But this point in the season, are they using the run to set up the pass?
Yeah.
I think that's also part of what's making message makers so successful. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when we look at the defensive performance, the only teams that scored more or scored less than Navy was Lamar, FCS school, and poverty Washington State, who gave Ole Miss a run for their money. But I mean, when we look ahead, this offense is so balanced. I mean, we have a deep running back room, deep wide receiver room, one of the best G5 quarterbacks in the nation. The O-line has been good. Gabe Blair leading that unit. So, I mean, let's be real. Finishing 11-1 is more than likely at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Playing in the American Conference Championship is more than likely. I would hope more than likely. I know there's still some weird tiebreakers and stuff going on, but there's a real shot at the college football playoff, so I'm all for it.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit later about the potential college football playoff spot. But coming up next, we're going to take a look around college football and talk about some of these head coaches that have been fired and who's going to end up where.
Now we return to Fabric of Passion.
Oh, Hector, it will be so hard for us to part, but we must.
But, my love, what did I do? I thought we were meant to be together forever.
I am so disheartened to say that you're just not in style anymore. But you will be, to someone else, in a better place.
You're gonna shred me?
No.
I'm donating you to one of the many clothing donation boxes available on campus. There is one in the Union by the Syndicate and one on Union Circle Drive.
Oh, well, why didn't you just say so? I'm gonna be someone's new shirt.
I thought you'd be more distressed.
Oh, absolutely not. It was cramped in your closet anyways.
Maybe you would like to be shredded after all.
Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. I'm your host, Wyatt Schott. We get to talk a little bit about the coaching carousel in college football. It's shaping up to be a wild one. We've already had some mid-season firings so far, most notably being Penn State. James Franklin got fired first, and then shortly after that was Brian Kelly at LSU. Fellas, this one has been crazy. This one's been a little weird because, well, first off, they kept losing. They got blown out by A&M at home, night game. I believe, what was that, Matthew? That was the first time since A&M's been an SEC member that they beat LSU at LSU.
At
correct?
LSU,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. So when things like that start snapping, streaks that, these fans hold on to pretty dearly, that's whenever heads are going to roll, and that's exactly what happened with Brian Kelly and LSU. And then the athletic director wouldn't really say if they were going to fire Brian Kelly, and then once they did, he wouldn't hint at the direction they're going to go. Well, the governor of the state said, we're not going to have any of that. You're not going to be our athletic director anymore. And now the writing's kind of been on the wall for this one for quite some time. The guy wasn't very popular. But now that Brian Kelly's fired, do you think it was the right move? I do. Do y'all think it was the right move? Who do you think they go after next?
No, I think it was the right move. I think just kind of the way that this LSU team, not just this year, but the past years as well, you think about the talent they've had, hasn't really lived up to the expectations of kind of what we think of an LSU football team. Overall, I think that the entire saga around this firing with the AD and then Brian Kelly as well is making this job, which is already probably the premier job in college football, a little murky. But if I was going to go for one guy to take this job, I'm going to go for John Summerall out of Tulane. Knows Louisiana. There's a lot of talk about how Brian Kelly didn't really want to recruit out of Louisiana or didn't really recruit well out of Louisiana. The talk about where his players stood, especially as alumni after, with Malik Neighbors posted on his story to kick rocks. So not great there, but John Summerall's done a really good job at Tulane. He spent some time in the SEC as a coordinator at Ole Miss and Kentucky. And you think about what he's done with Tulane so far in his 2 seasons. They've been really decent in the AAC. So overall, I think if you're going to go for a guy who knows your state well enough, I think John Summerall is your guy at Tulane. And it's not the flashiest hire in the world. Obviously, they're talking about Saban and Urban Meyer, which, guys, that's not going to happen. We're not pulling those guys off the lake. Come on, we're not.
Every time, yeah, you're right about
Miss
that.
Terry is not letting that happen.
Yeah, they're not pulling off the lake.
Every time that you see one of these big jobs open, you're going to hear Urban Meyer and you're going to hear Nick Saban now. Urban Meyer's been fighting coaching allegations for a long, long time, even before he went to Jacksonville.
And the last time he coached a team that was a Wildcat, it didn't end well. So.
Wildcat. Oh, you're right. I was like, wait, who are the Wildcats? And I was like, yeah, the Jaguars.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about it.
I was like, you just said them. What are we doing thinking about this?
But yeah, no, Brian Kelly's out. What do y'all think about the LSU debacle?
Well, personally, I also think it was the right move. I mean, to me, LSU has had fraudulent painted all over it since they won the national championship in 2019. I mean, they've had some good teams since then, but they never really live up to the preseason hype. So I do think it was time to move off of that coaching position there with Brian Kelly. As far as who I think they should go to next, I actually totally agree with what Josh said. I thought that John Summerall was the perfect hire. I mean, we were talking about before the show, a lot of those big names like James Franklin and Lane Kiffin, those are the flashy hire, but not necessarily the right one. And I'm a big fan of a guy who's done well at the Group of 5 level with the opportunity to move up. He knows the state of Louisiana. He's right there in the backyard, not far from campus there at LSU. Obviously, Tulane with a great roster talent-wise as well. You hire a guy like that, and he takes a lot of his talented Tulane players with him to LSU. So I'm a big fan of John Summerall potentially going to LSU.
Yeah, Matthew, who do you think should take that LSU job?
I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I would probably say John Summerall. And the funny thing with that is the AD that is with Brian Kelly, or was with Brian Kelly, was also the AD with Jimbo Fisher. So maybe it's the story of history repeating itself.
Yeah.
I mean, when we talk about the programs and the outlook of these things, this LSU program is a program that didn't lose to Johnny Manziel. Now they've lost to A&M like 3 of the past 4 times that they've played them. So, I mean, I think it just shows the writing on the wall. I don't think it was a good fit ever since Brian Kelly said family at the basketball game.
Yeah.
When we talk about his recruiting skill, if you will, I don't know how you recruit athletes when you're on the spin thing with them, grinding on him, going like to like some like, I forget the rap song, but I don't think,
a tough watch.
Yeah, I don't think grinding on athletes is the best way to recruit 17-year-olds to your college. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, I mean, it's a key job. I would love to be the guy that takes that job. You talk about taking like bad jobs or whatever. I would hate to be the guy that takes Saban's job. I would love to be the guy that takes Brian Kelly's job.
You gonna throw your name in the hat?
Yeah. Dude, they hand me $30 million. I'll just post on Twitter. What do y'all want called? So they can't blame me, bro. So I mean,
oh man, that's.
I don't know if I quite got the resume of a head football coach,
You
but
had the dance moves down.
yeah, I do. Yeah. I won't be crying.
Get the camera off of him. Get the camera off of him. We need no more of that. All right, but speaking of, we've talked about this name a couple times already, and it's Lane Kiffin. Kiffin hasn't gone anywhere. He's still the head coach of Ole Miss, and they're still, squarely in things for the college football playoff. But we'd be ignorant to say that his name hasn't been thrown around with the Florida job, with the LSU job. I'm sure some other job will open up. I know that there were rumblings for like a day that Sarkisian was going to the NFL, and I saw everyone saying, well, take Lane Kiffin out of Ole Miss and go get him to Texas. So where does Lane end up if he leaves Ole Miss at all? And if you were Lane, would you leave Ole Miss?
The issue is, like, one, you haven't heard him come out and say, oh, I'm with Ole Miss all the way. Kind of with Dan Lanning with Oregon. He was in the mention as well for one of those Florida or LSU jobs. The issue is with Lane is, like, we don't know what he's thinking. And if he's thinking, obviously, because we all don't live in his head. Unless this is a figmentation of, Lane Kiffin's
Lane Kiffin doesn't even know what he's thinking.
We don't know. We don't know. But either way, like, if he really feels like money's not going to be the issue. It's not going to be a money thing. It's going to be, can I win a national championship at Ole Miss? And if it's not that, okay, then I'll go to LSU or Florida. Probably LSU because that's the better job. But overall, when it comes to Lane Kiffin, we're not going to know, and we're not going to know for a long time, especially if Ole Miss continues to make that run into the playoff where they're at, 6 right now in the playoff rankings?
Yeah.
We're not going to know until January. And some of these jobs might be hesitant to wait on that because of how long that's going to be and the buyout and everything like that, especially because the transfer portal as well. That's going to open up in the wintertime. We might be in the midst of playoffs by the time that closes. So don't know what you're going to do.
I don't know with Kiffin because if you're familiar with Lane Kiffin's track record at all and his story, he took the head coaching job at Tennessee in 2009, I believe. He was there for 1 season, and he left, and he went to go be the head coach at USC. Like, this is a guy that is known for all kinds of controversy. He was the head coach of the Raiders when he was like 28 years old, and he kicked a 73-yard field goal, and they missed it badly. Like, he's gone through. I mean, he's lived multiple lives of a head coach, and he's still considered a young guy in like this coaching search. Like, I mean, it's crazy how long he's been around and how much he's done. You know, he was an offensive coordinator under Nick Saban at Alabama, kind of revived his career, then was head coach at Florida Atlantic, you know, coaching the CUSA at the time, and takes the Ole Miss job, and he's kind of really revitalized his career. I would be shocked if he doesn't end up at LSU or Florida. Would y'all agree with that?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be totally surprised. I honestly don't think he's going to leave.
You think he's going to stay?
I do.
think he's gonna stay.
Look at us agreeing. You just saying what I was about to say. Who would have guessed? All right, keep on going.
Look at
Can
y'all.
you let me finish my point?
Please do.
Okay. Sorry. Anyways.
I was hyping you up. You're getting mad at me. Let's talk about Lane Kiffin. Come on.
So I think that he's going to stay. I don't think he's going to take one of those two jobs because he might be able to make a little bit more money at Florida or LSU. But, I mean, it's loads of more pressure at those two schools than the Ole Miss, and I don't necessarily see that working out in the long term. To me, he kind of reminds me of James Franklin, the track record he's had at Ole Miss. I mean, they're just old 10-2 to me. So, I mean, I don't know if he'll ever be able to win a national championship at Ole Miss, but they're always going to be competitive. I don't see a collapse like Penn State saw anytime soon with Ole Miss.
See, the thing with Ole Miss, if you ask me, is like there's so much more variance because you are playing in the SEC. So like your schedule's gonna be incredibly tough. You're playing against some of the best rosters week in and week out in all of college football, and you're just at a disadvantage talent-wise whenever you're the head coach at Ole Miss. He's made a way to make it 10-2 every single year, and I think that's a compliment whenever you're the head coach at Ole Miss. Matthew, you think he's staying as well?
I agree with your take. I agree with Houston's take that he's staying, but for different reasons. I agree with the 10-2 SEC take rather than 10-2 Big Ten take. I think top of the talent in the Big Ten, even with top of the talent SEC. But when you look down like mid-tier and lower-tier teams, the SEC blows them out of water. I mean, a mid-tier SEC team is ranked number 16 or number 20 in the country. A mid-tier Big Ten team's 6-4 at the end of the season, or at 6-6, I guess. But yeah, I think Lane Kiffin lives, breathes, eats Ole Miss. I mean, the guy embodies Ole Miss. The only coaching job I could see him taking would be LSU just because of the pedigree of that program. But I see him staying at Ole Miss. I think he is Ole Miss. This guy is in DMs of 23-year-old girls. I think that just screams Ole Miss. The way he talks on college football is Ole Miss. I mean, am I wrong?
No, you're right. You're right.
This guy is Ole Miss. I see him staying there. I mean, I reckon they do give him a hefty pay increase, I guess. Raise, I guess, in the next contract. But I see him staying at Ole Miss.
I think there really is something to that. Like, Kiffin is kind of just a quirky coach. Like, he gets on Twitter and he tweets at other coaches after they win, and he tweets at other players and stuff. Like, he
dunks on the sideline.
Like he's just kind of flashy, just kind of snarky. Some people call him like a brat almost, but that's kind of Ole Miss football. Ole Miss has always been that kind of program for as long as the football program's been around. Really quick, basically just one word answers. Where do you think James Franklin ends up?
Florida State if that job's open up.
Florida State if it opens up?
The country club.
The country club?
Beach house.
Yeah, I think he's going to end up on Big Ten Network or something like that.
Ooh, I actually like that take.
I don't know.
They might as well just give us contracts at that point.
If he does go and coach, though, I think he's going to take the Virginia Tech job.
I like that.
Coming up next, though, excuse me. Sorry, I'm receiving. I thought I got the rap signal. We're receiving word that we're
still
staying on.
We're going.
Staying on.
We're good.
They can't kick us off air yet. Okay, let's move on then. Oklahoma State. This is a job that our own head coach, Eric Morris, has received some talk about maybe him taking this Oklahoma State job. Do you think that that's a real possibility?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like the entire crew just panicked right now. I mean, we should be honestly panicking if that contract extension, which they're trying to get the athletic fund going right now in terms of boosting that, which is a whole different conversation for a totally different day, doesn't get going. I think realistically, with the air raid offense and everything else, probably would take that job.
Yeah. Do you think that it's realistic that Morris takes that Oklahoma State job? Would Oklahoma State take Morris? Like, is that their first option?
Well, I mean, I think you use the word possibility. I think it's a possibility based off the research that I've done. It's not a probability. To me, it seems like he's in that second group of names.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to that, but I mean, I think, whenever I was looking through articles and everything like that, he was like the third G5 coach on the list. So yeah, it's most definitely possible and it's realistic, but I don't necessarily see that happening.
Yeah, Matthew?
I mean, I don't know how reliable articles are. A lot of articles had Arch Manning winning the Heisman this year, so I don't really know what's up with that take. But I think that is the coach to hire if you're Oklahoma State. I mean, when you talk about the Big 10 or Big 12, excuse me, you know, Tech and BYU have kind of got it by the chokehold right now, but it's still wide open. And if you're Oklahoma State, that is the coach to hire, in my opinion. A guy that has done all that he's done. John Mateer, Cam Ward, turn programs around. Look at UNT now with a walk-on Drew Mestemaker. And, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, Big 12 is offensive. It's an offensive league. It's air raid play style, and that's what Eric Morris thrives in. And I would believe the Mike Leach kind of system would go great there. I think that is who they should hire. Obviously would love him to stay, but if he goes anywhere, I would like to see him go Oklahoma State, revive that program, and I think he could turn them into a real dominator of the Big 12 and a consistent playoff appearance team in like 3-4 years, which he has done at UNT.
Yeah, and then the last team we'll talk about is Florida State. You said that if that job does open up, which we're assuming it does, you think James Franklin's going to take it?
Yeah, that was the reports. Obviously, I liked him with Virginia Tech as well. There was kind of conversation around that, but then that conversation also got toppled by if Florida State opens up, that, you know, maybe James Franklin will go there. But I think one of those two is definitely there. They should be in contention if Florida State opens up with Mike Norvell. You know, with the way that that program is just absolutely barrel rolled down the hill, that should be top of their list if they're thinking that. But if not, then Virginia Tech as well. I think that's probably another premier job for him.
All right, assuming the Florida State job opens, Houston, then Matthew, who do you have taking that opening?
Well, personally, you know, if it opens up, similar to what we said about John Summerall potentially taking the Tulane job, I think that more likely than James Franklin, I think it goes to Alex Golesh.
Yeah, I had him at Florida too. That was one.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Florida.
either one of those jobs I could see him taking, but kind of what we were talking about earlier with James Franklin, I don't necessarily think that a team like Florida State gains anything from that hire. I don't necessarily know that that's it's a flashy hire, but not necessarily the right hire. So I'd prefer Alex Golesh over James Franklin for either of the Florida jobs.
And then Matthew?
Ready for this?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Jibbo Fisher.
Oh,
God.
Honestly, though, what if?
He won them natty.
He did win them a natty, and he wants to coach again. And you don't have to, that Norvell buyout's going to be huge. You don't have to cough up a huge sum to pay Jimbo because he's still getting checks from his last school.
Yeah, a lot of checks.
All right, now, coming up next, we are going to talk about the Heisman Watch and who's going to win the thing at the end of the year. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The thing.
There's no harm in wanting to have fun while in college, but it's easy to lose track of how much you've had. Apps like Drink Control and Alkadroid can help keep track of your consumption and blood alcohol levels. If you or someone else does drink too much, the signs of alcohol poisoning are as follows: pale skin, vomiting, confusion, low body temperatures, irregular breathing, blacking out, and is hard to wake up or cannot be woken up.
Dude, are you okay? Hey, what's wrong? Wake up.
It's an exciting time of year, but it's important to be responsible. If you suspect someone is suffering from alcohol poisoning, get help immediately. You will not get in trouble for seeking help if you are underage. For more info and resources, go to UNT's Division of Student Affairs.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Hasbell, and I'm joining you here today in the Union Parking Garage. Today we're going to be going over how to drive safely in the parking garage. Let's go see. Oh my God! Oh my God! This girl just got hit by a car. Let's go see what happened. Ma'am, are you okay? Are you okay?
Did you see that lady hit me with a car?
Yeah, we did. I got it all on video.
Oh my God.
Let's go over here and talk about how we can prevent that.
Yeah, not the hospital.
Well, right now we're going to ask you a couple questions on how we can drive safely in the parking lot. What are ways that we can be aware of our surroundings?
Oh, we can look both ways.
Jenna, also, how about putting the distractions away?
Yes, just like our phones, turning our music down, and also not focusing on our passengers.
Where can you get information on how to get a parking pass?
Transportation.unt.edu.
If you park in a garage, make sure you pay on the app or look for further instructions on how you should pay.
And remember, no pass, no park. Let's all try to keep our mean green community safe.
Remember, we're all in this together.
Drive safe.
Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. I'm your host, Wyatt Schott, joined here by Josh Ortega, Houston Hall, and Matthew McDowell. We are going to talk a little bit about the Heisman Watch. I always avoid trying to speak about the Heisman until later on in the season because you really can't get a great idea of who's going to win the thing Most of the time, you actually just mentioned it earlier about like Arch Manning was the odds-on favorite to win at the beginning of the season. So rarely does the guy that's favored at the beginning of the season actually end up winning the thing. I think Carson Beck was the odds-on favorite last year. And so, it's better to just talk about this when you have a clearer image. And usually things are wrapped up around this time. Like you kind of know who's going to end up winning it. Last year was a two-man race between Ashton Genty and Travis Hunter. This year, I don't know who's going to win. I don't know who's going to win it. Like I have no idea who's going to win it. The odds market doesn't either. Julian Sayans jumped up to the #1 odds-on player to win it. He's at plus 150. I just don't think that that's a shoe-in at all because all it takes is a couple bad games from Sayan, who is a first-year starting quarterback, and then his Heisman odds are gone. Also, it's so influential on who's winning football games. We talked a little bit about Marcel Reed, and we'll talk a little bit about it later. But if A&M just keeps winning, then Marcel Reed's Heisman odds kind of increase. And then, of course, a Heisman moment is really important as well. So let's go down the list of some of the top quarterbacks. Unfortunately, this has kind of turned into a quarterback award. And so we know that quarterbacks are most likely going to win it. So I wrote down just some of the top names as Ty Simpson, Fernando Mendoza, Diego Pavia, Marcel Reed, and Julian Sayan. Is there any names that y'all would add to that list?
It would be unfortunate because last week, but I mean, I think Haynes King's chances are still alive. I mean, they lost last week in really disappointing fashion. But Haynes King put up over 400 yards. It was 450, something like that. He had like 4 total touchdowns. Like, although they have a loss, let's not get a one-loss Georgia Tech team and all of a sudden just slaughter Haynes King's chances.
Yeah.
I mean, Ty Simpson's got a loss. Diego Pavia's got like 2 losses. So let's not just be like, oh, Georgia Tech, they're not supposed to be here. Now they got a loss. We can kick Haynes King out. I mean, he has carried that team, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree. He has been, I think that he's almost a better version of what Diego Pavia is for Vanderbilt.
I agree.
I think that Haynes King is a better version of that for Georgia Tech.
Less talk, though.
Yes, a lot less talk. I love Haynes King. I mean, he's had such an interesting journey.
He's a dog.
Yeah,
bro.
he is a dog. He broke his foot at A&M. He played under Jimbo Fisher, and people did not like Haynes King in terms of just like the performance on the field wasn't great for A&M at the time, and a lot of the blame was being casted towards Haynes King. But man, he has turned his career around at Georgia Tech. I think that he is a great story of what the transfer portal is supposed to be.
It's supposed to be.
And what it can be for certain individuals that just need a change of scenery and really need to be in an offense that's tailored to their skills. Haynes King has exemplified that. You're right. I think that he is one of the best quarterbacks in the country and definitely someone that should be in the watch for the Heisman voting. Josh, Houston, is there any other name that you think should be added to that list?
No, out of the names you just mentioned, I think that we know those are the premier guys at quarterback. But obviously, this is a quarterback-heavy, award and everything. It's like going to be like that every year. Haynes King was probably the only guy that I probably would have added in that list, like Matthew said. He was in the conversation, of course, earlier in the year. Georgia Tech losing last week kind of shot him out of it. But he should be in that conversation no matter what. I think even though that they have lost to NC State last week in kind of big fashion a little bit, Georgia Tech and Haynes King should be in this conversation for Heisman for sure.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, there's not really anybody else I would throw in there. It's already a thing where we've got 3 or 4 guys, and there's no like shoe-in or favorite like you were talking about to win it here, 8, 9 games into the season. So I wouldn't really throw any other names into the mix either.
Yeah, and then let's actually talk about the absence of some of the preseason names. No Arch Manning, no Cade Klubnik, no Garrett Nussmeier. How surprised are y'all that none of those guys are listed here by the season's end as potential finalists?
I think
not winners, just like finalists.
I don't think you're surprised. I think you think about what Clemson and Cade Klubnik are, and we've seen it all year. We're not talking about them too much, but they were up and down all year. LSU is LSU right now. Garrett Nussmeier has not played well, especially nursing that injury. Arch, I think if they end the year kind of how they're playing right now, you could maybe kind of see him go up a little bit, maybe take that Pavia spot over Vandy. But
can I pipe in? Let's just be clear. Arch's stats last week when he had like 174 yards passing in like the first half. Do you know how many of those yards were after the catch?
No, obviously,
177 for the folks at home.
I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying he's going to win.
I'm not saying those guys should be on this list. I'm just saying, how surprised are you that all of the preseason favorites?
I was just taking off of Josh's take. I'm like, are we really including Arch? I mean, trust me, Arch has been good. I like to, low bro Texas a little bit. It happens. I'll be honest about it or whatever. But I mean, Arch has not been a Heisman level quarterback. He's been good.
No.
Texas ranked. They're what, 6-2, 7-2,
7-2,
7-2, and they have a real shot at the playoffs. Like, even though people have blinked on them, if you will, early in the season, this team's still plenty alive.
But if you're going to throw one of those names back in, I think out of the 3 guys between Nussmeier and Klubnik, it's crystal clear that if you're going to throw Arch back in it, if you're going to throw
between those 3.
Between those 3.
I think that's like a common knowledge thing, though. Like,
Yeah.
That's not crazy to say.
It's not a crazy thing to say, but if you're going to throw one of those three in there,
it's mainly it's not crazy mainly because just how bad Cade Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier have been.
And also from a team success standpoint, I mean, I know Texas hasn't been great, but they're at least still in it, like he was talking about.
Yeah.
Where the heck is Clemson and LSU right now?
Right.
Not in
Cancun.
it. So
one of them doesn't have a head coach anymore.
no, not even Cancun. They're in Galveston.
Galveston. They gave up. They're going to Galveston.
Go to Galveston.
So now let's talk about the guys that we have here. Ty Simpson, Fernando Mendoza, Diego Pavio, Marcel Reed, and Julian Sayin. Is your all's Heisman winner? Who do you think is going to be in that list of names? And who is it, if they are?
For me, it's Mendoza right now. I could easily see Simpson kind of overtaking it. I am kind of in the boat with Julian Sayin, and I know it's probably a tough take because of how young he is, and he plays for Ohio State, and he's got Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and the best defense in the country. But 16 touchdowns, not that many interceptions versus very big-time opponents this season. Played well. I think that, yes, that defense is part of the reason why Ohio State is so good. They're the best team in the country. But I think that if Julian Sayin plays like how we think he is, and especially being a first-year starter, with those road bumps and everything like that, I don't think that they're at that same level with the number one team in the country. Between me and Indiana right now, Ohio State, if Julian Sayin is playing very poor, like his age, it's probably Indiana the number one team in the country right now. So I think it's not terrible to say that he's in that boat yet.
Yeah.
Well, I really think that it's kind of turned into a three-man race between Mendoza, Sayin, and then Simpson. And I agree with Josh. I mean, I think it should go to Mendoza. I think it says something about a guy who's able to take a team like Indiana, who doesn't have the resources that Alabama and Ohio State have, and have them at number 2 in the country. And they've been dominant. I mean, they've had eked by a couple wins, but for the most part, I mean, they've been blowing some teams out the water. Like, I mean, Illinois early in the season, back when Illinois was still ranked, I mean, they put up 63 points or whatever. Yeah, Oregon had a good win against Oregon there. So I think it should go to Mendoza, but who I think it'll go to, I think it kind of comes down to who's got the best team at the end of it, because none of the three guys have flashy enough numbers to be like, oh, like it's definitely him. I think it kind of comes down to who's got the best record at the end of the season.
Yeah, and that is going to lead into Matthew's take, which I think there's plenty of merit to. I really do.
Thank you.
I think that I just think he's just hanging around. He's not the favorite, but he's in that top 3, top 4 range. Go ahead and talk about your boy, Matthew.
All right, the guy I'm about to talk about right here, he's got plus 60 value, best value out of all these guys. Houston said it's a 3-guy race. I think it's a 4-guy race. No discredit to Mendoza, Simpson, and Sayin. Personally, I think my favorite right now might be Mendoza. But I mean, Marcel Reed, let's not forget about this guy. This Texas A&M team is number 3 in the nation, 8-0 with some big wins. They're playing Missouri here today. Then they'll play South Carolina, then Stanford. I know Kirk Herbstreit couldn't get that one on the broadcast. But then they go into DKR. And I believe if there's a guy that can have a Heisman moment this season, it's Marcel Reed. I mean, let's be real. We're saying these guys don't have crazy stats. There's not someone who already has 3,000 yards, has like 25 touchdowns, and only like 2 interceptions. When we look at the stats, no one blows anyone out in water. But I mean, when we talk about someone that can have a Heisman moment, I think Marcel Reed. And I can kind of compare this to the NFL MVP in 2023, I believe, maybe 2024, when it was kind of between Lamar, Dak, and Josh Allen. Maybe, Dak lost a big game in like week 14, week 15, and the Bills kind of stuttered there late, but Baltimore just kept on winning. And even though Lamar's stats weren't the best, his team finished the best in the NFL, and, the quarterback's the one that leads the team. So I think it could be one thing like that. I do believe it's a complete 4-man race. I don't think anyone's circled in yet. If I were to guess, I would say Mendoza. I think they can win now, and I think they can win the Big Ten championship. I think whoever wins that will be – I think it's going to be a Big Ten and SEC kind of award. I think whoever wins the SEC will win it from will be the nomination from the SEC, the quarterback, and whatever quarterback wins the Big Ten will be the favorite from them. So I think it's going to be whichever quarterback wins those championships will go head-to-head. If it's Julian Sayin and Marcel Reed, I'm going Marcel Reed. If it's Mendoza and Marcel Reed, then there's plenty of argument for Mendoza. But I hate to take that it's a 3-man race. I think that is just asinine, to be honest. So back to you, Wyatt.
Matt, Houston's been doing some research.
He was counting.
He's been doing some research while you were talking.
You're gonna say he has 6 interceptions. Oh no, he's got 6 interceptions. Well, guess what? He's 8-0, number 3 in the country. They don't ask how. They ask how many.
Did he just say that he only had 2 interceptions like 30 seconds ago?
That's neither here nor there.
I said no one has like 3,000 yards, 2 interceptions. Like no one blows each other's stats out of the water.
I just think
I think you might have
since
misheard me,
He
Houston.
made the take that he does a good job of taking care of the ball. I still think he's holding that streak up of turning the ball over at least one time.
You know what streak he's also got?
What's that?
8 wins, 0 losses this season.
Now, you talked about the potential Heisman moment, like against Texas, and Heisman moments are incredibly important, and I think that is a great spot for a Heisman moment. I think that Ty Simpson also has some potential for good spots. They have the Iron Bowl, and they have LSU today. I know that quality of those opponents is not the same, but you have to talk about like moments and stuff, and in a rivalry game, that is a factor, despite the fact that Auburn isn't as good. That's also another job.
You could also say about versus LSU and Marcel Reed had that like 50-yard run.
You could.
I mean, obviously he didn't hit the pose like Pavia does in like week 4 or something like that. But I mean, let's be real. That just sent LSU's program on a whole new trajectory. No head coach, no AD, and the governor of their state's up in arms right now as well. So I mean, not just sending a whole program into a spiral, but possibly an entire state, let alone their neighbor.
Yeah, I think that the Texas game is a good spot for a Heisman moment. I think that the Iron Bowl is a good spot for Ty Simpson. And I think the game for Julian Sayin against Michigan is also a good spot for a Heisman moment. I'll talk a little bit about Diego Pavia. He's kind of fallen out of this race, I think, just because you pick up another loss. You're 7-2 if you're as Vanderbilt. But the reason that I still think that he has somewhat of a chance is the personality. And, especially in the digital age now, the personalities of these quarterbacks and just who they are and how entertaining they are in front of the camera, the things they say, the things they do are so important and influences a lot of voters because over like 3,000 people vote on the Heisman, and I can guarantee you not all 3,000 of those people are watching the football games, but they probably see that video on Instagram of Diego Pavia, talking trash. And so I think that stuff is really influential. Coming up next, we are going to talk about the college football playoff rankings and talk about where some teams were slotted and if we think that they got it right.
My favorite snacks.
I use Flex to get me through my mornings.
I use Flex at my favorite campus restaurants. I love how Flex is a cashless payment method and can be used at all campus dining venues.
So, how do you use Flex?
Looking to open a free...
Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. I'm your host, Wyatt Schott. The first college football playoff rankings for the 2025 season have been released, and now we get to talk about it a little bit, okay? I want to go and talk about this in sections, rather than just, going down the line of all the teams. So Ohio State, Indiana, and Texas A&M are 1, 2, and 3. They lead the unbeaten teams. Are we cool with how they are ordered?
Yes. I don't see an issue with it. You could probably make the argument between A&M and Indiana, but
that's the discussion I was thinking.
The one argument I think, Ohio State's going to be 1. There's no doubt about that. Crystal clear 1.
They'll be 1 until they lose.
Yeah, until they lose. If they lose to Michigan at the end of the season, which
who knows?
Who knows at that point? But Indiana or A&M, you can flip-flop. I think both have been phenomenal. We mentioned it in the last block, Fernando Mendoza and Marcel Reed. So those two, you can flip them back and forth. I don't really have a problem with it. So top 3, I think I'm cool with for right now. But I would probably lean Indiana here.
Yeah, I guess you could flip 2 and 3, but they listed the top 3 exactly how I would have done it if it was me. One thing that does kind of surprise me is I feel like normally whenever the College Football Playoff Committee comes out with their first rankings, they'll come out with some like off-the-wall like difference from the AP poll that nobody was expecting just to draw some attention. And they didn't really do that this year, so I'm happy with the way the top 3 turned out.
Yeah.
The way this year's been, I think you could have any of those teams in any order of the top three, and there wouldn't be a right or wrong answer. I mean, if you had A&M 1, Indiana 2, Ohio State 3, that might be a little controversial, but I mean, would it be wrong?
Yeah, no,
it wouldn't be wrong. Like, I think you could have any of these teams in any order, and like, it wouldn't be wrong.
Yeah,
these teams haven't played each other, so we don't know who's better than the other.
Yeah, no, I think that they got that right. It really wasn't a whole lot of controversy with these rankings for the most part. The one thing that I did think was interesting was that the ACC is looking like a one bid team or one bid league, especially now that Miami picked up their second loss of the season, losing to SMU in Dallas. It's kind of sparse right now for the ACC. There's a chance that they probably only get the conference champion, and who's going to be in the conference championship game? Who knows at this point? Miami no longer controls their own destiny. They got 2 conference losses. Virginia technically is undefeated in conference play. They lost to NC State in like week 3.
But it didn't count.
But it didn't count as a conference game. The way that the scheduling dynamic worked, that was an out-of-conference game. They just happen to both be in the ACC. It's weird, but they don't have a conference loss. They are the highest-ranked ACC team, and behind them is Georgia Tech out of the top 15. Do you think that's fair? I personally do. I think the ACC is the weakest Power 5 conference in all of college football.
No, I agree. I think if Georgia Tech's undefeated, we're talking about Georgia Tech being at 11 instead of Virginia.
But they might be even higher than that.
Yeah, if anything, higher than that. But with that loss, I think that's fair enough to put Virginia there, especially because we need an ACC team here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair as well. ACC with only 1 bid. I mean, they're obviously the weakest of the Power 4. I'd like to know who the heck is the 1, though. I mean, they've got like 4 teams between 14 and 18, like in the college football playoff ranking. So I don't even know who the 1 is. I mean, obviously right now it's Virginia, just because they're the highest ranked, and they do have the win over Louisville. And I don't think Louisville controls their own destiny either. And they're like tiebreakers and stuff. So I think that if Louisville gets a shot at Virginia, they could potentially win the rematch. And I think that Louisville would have the best chance to compete in the playoffs compared to Virginia. Not a big fan of Virginia's quarterback. I don't think he's very good, but
L-take.
Poor Chandler Moore is.
L-take Houston.
So my picks question is, who is the 1 that gets in? I really have no idea at this point. It's so close. It's like the top of the American, really. I mean, it's like 6 teams there with 1 conference loss.
Yeah, you basically are picking who's going to win the ACC title to see what team gets in. Matthew, who do you think is going to get in, and do you think that the rankings are justified?
I think the play style and the coaching gives Georgia Tech the edge, personally. But one thing I love about this conference, when you look at the top 4 teams and their quarterbacks, you got Chandler Morris, Miller Moss from USC, and then you got Haynes King from A&M, then you got Carson Beck from Georgia. It's like such a weird hodgepodge of quarterbacks making up such a competitive, scrambled conference that doesn't have anyone in the top 13 right now. So I personally would go Georgia Tech just because their play style. I think that they can keep it up. I think they're a consistent team. Obviously, they lost recently. But I like Georgia Tech personally. I think they just got that grit to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think it's so frustrating that SMU picked up that loss against Wake Forest. You beat Clemson on the road handedly. It didn't even look like you broke a sweat doing it. And then you're preparing for this Miami game. You just happen to have Wake Forest right in front, and you lose 13-12 on the road.
Is that not the most SMU thing to do?
It's exactly right. That's exactly the most SMU thing to do. The Big 12 was a big winner of these rankings, if you ask me. This is a conference I thought going into the season had a chance at also being one of those 1-bid leagues. I thought that the ACC might get 2. Of course, I didn't realize that Clemson was going to be this bad. I thought that they would be in the playoff. I thought Miami would find a way to fight in. I thought maybe Georgia Tech could fight in. So I thought they would have multiple bids. Instead, it's kind of inverse. It's flip-flopped, and the Big 12 is going to get multiple teams. They had Texas Tech and BYU both ranked in the top 10. Both of them were ranked ahead of Oregon, which was not the case in the AP. And then you have Utah sitting there at number 13. They won't get a chance to play in the Big 12 championship, barring chaos, because they do have 2 conference losses. But if they finish this thing 10-2, the committee's kind of showing that they're willing to put Utah in. How does this thing end up shaking out? Of course, we have BYU and Texas Tech playing today. A second loss for Texas Tech would be detrimental to this conference for getting multiple teams in. I don't know if BYU is going to run the table if they beat Texas Tech. I think that they just don't have enough offensive firepower to prevent these high-variance games. So what's the best path here for for the Big 12 to get as many teams into the playoff as they can?
It's interesting. It's really interesting because you have so many in there right now, and you look at Tech and BYU who play today, that they're going to – one of those 2 might fall. And then, with Utah with the 2 losses, who's going to really kind of stay in because of that. So
if Tech picks up a second loss and they both finish 10-2, then Tech would stay ahead of Utah because they got the head-to-head.
Yeah.
So that would basically Tech loss would virtually eliminate Utah from the playoff unless Tech was to pick up a third loss.
Yeah, no, you're right. A lot of math in this, guys.
It's
a lot of
it's
math.
Kind of crazy. It's crazy, and we're gonna sit here talking about it, and it's all gonna work itself out at the very end, and none of it was gonna matter.
Yeah.
Right.
But
We're all gonna be wrong.
Yeah, we're all gonna be wrong. I've learned so far that in this season of college football, everyone sucks. Every team sucks. There's like 2, maybe 3 good teams. I think A&M has kind of proven more and more as the season gone on that they're actually like for real. Besides that, everyone's bad. Like any one of these teams are capable of losing to one another, and that has not been the case in years past. It is the case this year. Notre Dame leads the 2-loss teams. This is interesting to me because I don't know what the argument is to have Notre Dame ranked over Texas, Oklahoma, or Miami actually, and Miami's far down the list. So why do y'all think that Notre Dame is ranked the highest at the 2-loss team, and do you think it's justified?
It's hard because we were talking about it earlier in the year how we weren't sure with the 2-loss team whether they would get in. They're in right now, and their best win is USC, right? And you think about how that win was and kind of how they've started to play better, running the football with Jeremiah Love, really on the uptick here. But I think the argument for Texas too is worth talking about because they're sitting at 11 with the start of the season they had, and they play both Georgia and Texas A&M to end the season, so they could easily, see
if they win one of those 2 games. There's a real path for a 9-3 Texas to get in, which would be crazy. There would have to be some help, of course, from the field. If Texas wins out, they don't have to worry about that. They will be in the playoff and they will jump Notre Dame because that would completely decimate Notre Dame's schedule compared to wins over Texas A&M and Georgia. However, what is the argument? I think now for Notre Dame over Texas.
Don't they take the schedule because they played both Miami and Texas A&M, so they don't want to. They're trying to do this thing where strength of schedule is important, but they don't want to knock you for.
They don't want to punish you.
They don't want to punish you for playing a tough team the first 2 weeks of the season. So with Texas A&M being at 3, Miami being down there, you don't want to punish them too much because you played them in week 1 and week 2.
That's fair.
So
I say the same thing for Texas playing Ohio State.
You could. But that is the other argument too.
Yeah.
So
I don't understand.
Personally, I think it's because out of Texas, Oklahoma, and Notre Dame, I think it's because Notre Dame is the team that has lost like the least recently.
Yes,
I mean,
that is
recency bias is real.
Yeah, so just because Oklahoma obviously, hasn't been looking too good. I mean, they lost to Texas not that long ago, and then obviously Texas has the bad loss to Florida that kind of keeps them behind Notre Dame versus where Miami's that loss that Notre Dame's lost to Miami at the start of the season is aging like milk right now. But because they were ranked 10 at the time that they lost to them, and then the loss to A&M on the other hand is actually aging really well, as good as a loss can. I think all those things combined is what has Notre Dame above the other 2.
Yeah, Matthew, what do you think about these 2-loss teams and the way that they're ranked?
I mean, it's so hard with, like you said, college football. Like nobody's standing out in all reality. But Notre Dame, their defense has really locked in. Obviously, maybe not so much against USC. But I mean, all their recent games, it's been 7-7, 10-7. They've won by big margins. And when you look at Texas, their loss to Florida, they just looked incomplete. And they've looked really rocky to start some games. OU, they're just such a weird team this year. No one really knows. Like, I don't know their identity. They'll win big games, but then they'll lose others. You know what I'm saying? So I think
they know their identity.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
But I think Notre Dame does have a very complete team. They have. I mean, I don't know how high I am on C.J. Carr, but when you have a backfield with Jeremiah Love and Jadavian Price, it's hard to deny. They have a good front. But I mean, like every year I'd be like, put me in the rankings. I want to do this, but this year, like with 9 through 17, it's just it's jambalaya. It's all jacked up. You know what I'm saying? So I personally, if I were to rank, I would have Notre Dame above Texas, Oklahoma, and Utah. Maybe that is recency biased.
Yeah.
But I think they are a more complete team and have shown more than those 2 other teams have.
If you ask me, I think the most important thing to look at when ranking is the head-to-head win. If there is a head-to-head win and there is the same record, I think you have to put that team with the head-to-head win ahead of them. I don't care when it happened. You only play 12 games a season. We can't just erase one data point just because it happened earlier in the year. I don't think that Notre Dame should be ranked ahead of Miami. Truly, I truly don't. I know you want to talk about quality losses and stuff like that. Quality losses don't matter when you have a head-to-head win against the other team. So is that the only argument for Notre Dame to be ahead of Miami is the quality loss and the recency of the losses?
I like what you have to say, but do you think Miami's a better team now than they were 3 months ago?
No.
2 months ago?
No.
Because I look at Miami in September, August. I think, dang, that's a college football playoff team. I look at Miami now, it's like, oh, of course they lost. But they've just looked like uncoordinated as all get out, and Notre Dame's dialed in.
I think
That's
one thing,
fair.
we should have renamed this block who should be going to Cancun and not, and we don't even know. We should be calling the Ritz and saying, hey, we need a reservation, but we have no idea how it's going to shake out.
Well, coming up next, we're going to take a look at some of the biggest games of the weekend happening in college football and predict who we think is going to win. We will be right back.
Open a free checking or savings account but don't know where to start? Check out DebtQ Credit Union right here on campus. Get your Mean Green debit card instantly or apply for a DebtQ Visa credit card today. Your school, your card. Plus, make deposits at their 24/7 ATM, checks or cash whenever you need it. Make sure to sign up for DebtQ's online banking platform and mobile app for easy access anytime, anywhere. Visit them at www.debtq.org to learn more. DebtQ, the official financial institution of UNT Athletics.
Hey UNT students! Looking for creativity and inspiration? The UNT Union Gallery invites you to experience artwork at the art exhibit from your own talented Eagle artists. This free exhibit features a rotating selection of incredible artworks from talented Mean Green artists. Don't miss your chance to experience creativity up close. Stop by anytime during union hours. Want to hear more from the artist yourself? Join us at the Ask and Eat reception, where you can dive deeper into the creative process and enjoy a good conversation over a bite to eat. Don't miss the latest exhibit at the UNT Union. Immerse yourself in the art and be sure to explore the many other exciting exhibits rotating in throughout the semester.
Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. I'm your host, Wyatt Schott, and for the last block, we are finally going to predict who is going to win the biggest matchups in college football this week. Starting things off, we have a matchup between the Big 12 teams that we just mentioned, both ranked in the top 10 in the college football playoff rankings. It's Texas Tech hosting BYU. Texas Tech, without Will Hammond at quarterback, tearing his ACL out for the season. Now Bren Morton is back in at quarterback. He's been banged up. If Bren Morton gets hurt again, Texas Tech will be on to their third-string quarterback. He has not been healthy throughout, really, since his initial injury at the beginning of Big 12 play. Despite that, though, he's going to give it a go. Who do y'all have winning in this one? I got the Red Raiders.
I got Tech as well. I think that just with the environment, look, BYU has been playing really well. They have a true freshman quarterback in Bear Bachmeier. I don't like his number, but he's been playing really well.
So like 47 at quarterback?
I don't. Guy, no. Stop. This is not a trend.
That's aura, bro.
It's not aura. I'm not.
Shea Patterson used to wear 98 back in the day.
With that number.
It's a fullback number. Come on. Either way, I think just going into this environment, with BYU who's been playing well, it's going to be really tough. I think David Bailey, Rodriguez, the linebacker, this defense is really going to fuel kind of what they want to do, especially trying to protect their quarterback, making sure he's not on the field for a lot of those plays and those drives because he's been banged up earlier in the year. So I'm going to go Tech.
Yeah.
Well, I think for me personally, the key stat here is that, obviously BYU with the freshman quarterback, they've been leaning on the run game a lot. LJ Martin with 789 yards on the season, really run-heavy team. But Texas Tech, what I didn't realize until I was actually looking deeper into this game is that statistically Texas Tech has the #1 rush defense in the country right now. They're only giving up 74 yards per game on the ground. So I think they're going to make Bear Bachmeier throw the football. And, he's not got the greatest completion rate, only about 62%. And with the freshman quarterback on the road, he's going to be getting tortillas thrown at him all game.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Right.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
They've been that. So allegedly there won't be any tortillas.
You can't contain those folks in Lubbock.
No, not even close.
There's just no way they're going to keep tortillas off that field.
Yeah. So I'm going to be going with Texas Tech to get it done at home.
Matthew, what you got?
One thing I really like about BYU is they know how to close out a game. They know how to win a close game. The thing I don't like, they've had close games with Arizona and Colorado. Granted, they had a close game versus Utah, the Quakers versus the Soakers. It was a really good matchup. Personally, I thought Utah was going to win, but BYU pulled it out. But I just don't think you can keep a game close with that Texas Tech. I think Barrett Morton's very good. I played him when he was at Eastland. I think he's a good quarterback. I think Texas Tech D-line is going to have a day. I think Bear Alexander is going to be put through the jungle, if you will, even though Bear's a fire name. But I'm going with Tech. I don't know what this guy's looking at me for. I'm agreeing with him right now. Maybe it's a bad thing. I probably shouldn't. But, yeah, I'm going with Tech.
No cheating. Do y'all know what the spread is on this game?
It's like 11 and a half, right?
10.5?
10.5.
Oh,
yeah. This thing's steep. Okay. Fun fact, since 1976, there have only been 3 teams going into a game 8-0 where they are more than 10-point underdogs. They are 0-3 in all of those games. Texas Tech's got history on their side. They got the numbers on their side. We'll see if they can pull it off in Lubbock.
Look at Wyatt with the research.
Yeah, how did you know that?
Houston, what were you doing in 1976?
That's a great
He
question.
was filing out a mortgage or something.
Oregon takes on Iowa in Iowa City. This one has a tight spread considering the two teams. Iowa has overachieved all year. They haven't really beat a quality team. They almost beat Indiana. Books really like Iowa in this one. It's I think 3.5 is the number that's been floating around. 4.5 has kind of been a number that has been out there as well. It's going to be really, really gross. The weather is going to be bad. The total on this thing opened at 46. It's come all the way down to 40. Who do you think wins this one? I got Oregon winning just because I'm going to take the rosters, but I understand the spot for Iowa in this one.
To kind of go off that point, the weather is going to be awful, disgusting. We're going to have sleet by the end of the game.
Yeah, it's going to be like slushy.
It's going to be awful. Either way, for Iowa, when you think about what they want to do, they don't really pass the football. That's not what they do on offense. So that means they're going to have to create chances on defense. And in a game like this, you're going to want that because you're going to want your defense try to get to the quarterback, force turnovers, and get as many points as you can to put your offense in the right position to get points on the board to beat Oregon. However, this is Oregon, and I think if you get Dante Moore, how he was playing earlier in the year, clean, not giving away the football, I think you have a real shot to win this game, especially with that run game. I'm going to go Oregon.
Well, for me, kind of to touch upon what you guys said with the weather, the bad news for Oregon is there's not going to be as much room for Dante Moore to spread the ball around to all his different receivers. The good news is that they have 4 running backs that average 5.9 yards per carry or better. So it's a very well-rounded offense that can run the football as well. More good news for Oregon is that Iowa, as they have for like the last decade, is terrible on offense. They're 119th in total offense with 317.9 yards per game on offense, and Oregon is 4th in total defense. So it's obviously Iowa's going to have to keep this thing low scoring if they're going to have a chance there at the end. But personally, I think that with Oregon's defense and Iowa's offensive struggles, and like I said, Oregon being able to do multiple things on offense, I'm going to go with the Ducks.
Matthew?
I mean, Houston just low broed Iowa's offense. I think their offense is better than it usually is. For the past 6 weeks, they've put up over 37 points. So, I mean, I think there is something to be said about that. Competition may not have been what the competition that Oregon is going to be, but, they have put up over 37 points in 4 of the last 6 weeks. I think this game has got Iowa written all over it. I think if we are going to get a game wrong all week, it is going to be Iowa. But I just like Oregon's playmakers in this one. I think Dan Lanning lives for games like this. And I think Oregon capitalizes and has a statement win in this one, so I'm going Oregon. But if we're all going to get one wrong, I would not be surprised if the Hawkeyes upset all of us.
Yeah, the reason I like Oregon is because I think that they're really good on the line of scrimmage. I think they're much better than Iowa on both sides. The defensive line, they got Bear Alexander, they got Amarian Williams, the transfer from Houston, and they got Mateo Uyunglele, the brother of DJ. Much better player. Much better player. Not too much relation,
Might be able to throw the ball better, too.
Yeah, probably so. But, yeah, I like the interior defensive line for Oregon. I think they can stop the Iowa run game. Coming up next, Texas A&M takes on Missouri in Columbia. I got A&M in this one. The spread is also under a touchdown on this. 6.5 was the last number I saw. A&M is going up against a third-string quarterback, making his first career start in Matt Zollers, former 5-star guy on a couple of sites, highly recruited. He can spin it. He's not a scrub. But you are making your first ever start against a really good A&M defense. I think that Ahmad Hardy has slowed down as SEC play has gotten started. Teams have really been able to key in. We'll see if maybe Zollers in his arm unlocks something in this Missouri offense. Eli Drinkwitz has had a bye week to kind of prepare some crazy stuff and throw the kitchen sink at A&M. But I think A&M is just too good, too talented to beat Missouri or to lose to Missouri in this one.
Yeah, this is a weird matchup in terms of kind of what both teams are coming in. Both teams coming off the bye. You think about Texas A&M, and you think about how this game can easily be rat poison for them. Being the number 3 team in the country, do they have that same edge coming off the bye? With the true freshman quarterback starting and the third string, how do you win this game if you're Missouri? Well, you run the football. You need Ahmad Hardy to be the Ahmad Hardy that he was earlier in the year. There's a quote or something back in The Dark Knight, one of the Batman movies, where they talk about how when they need him, they'll know, or he'll know, or something. I can't remember. I was trying to find the clip, and I couldn't find it. Missouri needs Ahmad Hardy to be that guy that he was earlier in the year, especially if they're going to beat Texas A&M, which is an interesting little nugget for all y'all. The way we actually calculate rushing yards, they take away the sack numbers.
Yes.
Right? It's so much different than the NFL. If you take away the sacks from Texas A&M, they are 110th in the country in terms of running the football against them. All that to be said, though, I'm going Texas A&M. This team is just so much better than Missouri. I think that, they've played tough road games before in the season before. In the season, wow, I just couldn't talk there, holy cow. Either way, I think Mike Elko and Marcel Reed, they've been great all year, and I think that we saw what Alabama did when they walked into Missouri. I wouldn't be surprised if Texas A&M does the same thing.
Yep.
I'm also going to go with Texas A&M, similar to what I said with Oregon. They've got a well-rounded offense. You got top 2 receivers there, combined for 1,261 yards and 11 touchdowns. They've also got 3 rushers averaging 5.5 yards per carry or better. So I think that the well-roundedness of Texas A&M's offense, and then compared to Missouri with not a very well-rounded offense and the talent on Texas A&M's defense, I think that the Aggies are going to roll against Missouri.
Yeah, Matthew.
Houston talked about the running back room a little bit. I'm going to talk about it for A&M. I mean, coming into this year, I was like, Le'Veon Moss, Ruma Owens, E.J. Smith, all those guys are so nasty. They're so good, blah, blah, Mari Daniels as well. But someone who's came up is Jamarian Morrow, the true freshman. I mean, he's looking like Devon A-Chain 2.0 right now. He's the first freshman since A-Chain to get a receiving and rushing touchdown in a game for A&M. But you talk about Amon Harding having to run the ball. If A&M wants to make their quarterback throw it, they can. They can honestly just put 5 D linemen of Dayon Hayes, DJ Hicks, Albert Regis, Tyler Onadiam, and Cassius Howell over then and just play Torian York, Damian Sanford in the middle. Out wide have Will Lee, Des Rickson. Over the top have Marcus Radcliffe and Dalton Brooks. Like we talked about, this A&M defense might be their weak point right now. I think it could be a strong point for them. Granted, they've given up a lot of points to other teams, but I think Marcel Reed, this could be a game where he possibly has a Heisman moment. I don't think he's going to have to be that guy. I think this will be a team win for A&M and a classic Mike Elko win, so I'm going with Texas A&M.
Yeah, I think that this game could have been a little trickier with Perbula at quarterback, just because he adds a dynamic aspect to the running game. Don't have that with Matt Zollers. Coming up next, Hawaii versus San Diego State. This is going to determine some Mountain West shakeup. I got Hawaii in this one. I faded them earlier in the season, and I got bit. I'm not going to do it again. Give me Hawaii to win against San Diego State.
Give me the Aztecs. I think Lucky Sutton in the running back game for the Aztecs has been really good all year. I just don't think Hawaii has faced defense like San Diego State.
Yeah, that's
so fair. I'm going to go San Diego State.
I'm also going to go with San Diego State. They're 11th currently in rushing defense, averaging just 88.5 yards given up as a team there per game. Hawaii only averages 3.6 yards per carry. So at that point, it's another instance of this is likely going to be a one-dimensional offense for Hawaii, so they're forced to throw the ball a whole lot more. And between their 2 quarterbacks, the TD to INT is 20-9, so not great chances there. They're throwing an interception about every 2 touchdowns. So I'm going to go with San Diego State to get it done out there on the islands.
All right, Matthew.
I want to go with Hawaii just because San Diego State's been getting some G5 hype and getting votes in the poll. But I just don't believe the hype of San Diego State, but I do have them winning. I mean, Hawaii recently has a loss to San Jose State. That's not a good team. They had a close game with Air Force. Air Force put up 35. I think San Diego State will be able to put up more than that. And they had a close game with Colorado State, who San Diego State had a bigger win over, so I'm going with San Diego State.
All right, last one. Pretty weak slate, but this is an all-time matchup, and so I wanted to get in there. So we're going to pick the spread on this one. Notre Dame takes on Navy. I'm taking Navy to cover the 26.5. There's a 27.5 out there. I don't think anything ever crosses 28. So yeah, give me Navy plus 26.5 against Notre Dame. I understand that Notre Dame needs to win big, to bolster that playoff resume. I just think that Navy might be able to bog this game down and hit a couple of big ones and get some scores on the board.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Notre Dame minus 26.5. I think that, we saw last week with us, we saw the offense move the ball phenomenally well. I think Notre Dame can do that against Navy, and I think that Navy's opportunity to rip off a big run really kind of helps this, so I think Notre Dame covers.
I started to go with Navy in this one because similar to what Wyatt said, I thought they were going to be able to bog this one down a little bit. But then the more I thought about it, the way we saw Navy play against us last week, when Navy gets behind, they're forced to throw the ball more. And we saw, twice that Blake Horvath will throw you the ball if he's, asked to throw at all. And I don't think that Navy's fast-paced enough to stay with Notre Dame. So, I think that Notre Dame's probably going to get up and Navy's going to have to start throwing the football, and it's going to get ugly with turnovers and everything, so I'm taking the Irish to cover the 26.5-point spread.
Matthew?
I got the Irish. I think that defense can force some 3-and-outs early. I think they can grab the lead early and hold on to it, and I think they can cover, and I wouldn't be surprised if they cover 28.5, if you will.
Yeah.
I know that's a big number, but I'm going Notre Dame in a statement fashion.
All right, well, thank y'all so much for watching. This has been a blast. Stay tuned for next week's show with Mean Green Game Day. We will be back. UNT takes on UAB in Birmingham, Alabama. So don't go anywhere. We will be back next week with Mean Green Game Day.